Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee or a delicious menu item while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Come by and say hello to Maui. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
And good evening, everybody. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at CriticalBlast.com, and it is Wednesday night, the most popular night for live streaming, apparently, because as I ran my preview videos here, my phone just started lighting up, light, and everybody else that I'm subscribed to just went live. So I understand if you're going to be hopping around because decisions. It's like turning the channel. It's like having the Super Bowl and the World Series on competing channels at the same time. What do you do? And then I'm running Bozo the Clown over here. So I get it. I understand. Tonight, we are going to look at some more crowdfunded comics, and we have our special guest, Mr. Brian Shearer, with us. Brian, welcome to the show.
Howdy. You get notifications about live streams?
I do if I subscribe to the channel.
Wow, that's even my subscribers say they don't get it until about 30 minutes in.
Well,
so you're the special guy.
I don't get it all the time.
Okay, that sounds better.
and I had to go into everybody subscribe, and it's like you hit the bell for notification, but then you've got to hit the other bell that says, I really want to be notified.
Right. I want to subscribe to this magazine, but I got to go ring the doorbell at your business to actually get your magazine. What?
Exactly.
That's not what a subscription means.
Oh, so I get a lot of notifications now, but I don't think I send out as many notifications. It's up to the receiver to make sure that they control that.
Yeah.
So people have seen you before you got into crowdfunding. I mean, you've been on a lot of IP that is a lot of our fan favorite stuff. I mean, G.I. Joe, Transformers. I'm obviously reading off your page here. Doctor Who, Star Trek, Ghostbusters. So you've been around the block a few times here.
Yeah, I feel like it. I was on G.I. Joe for probably the longest 6 years or so, monthly there, doing mostly inks.
Which iteration?
Real American Hero.
Okay, so that was Dark IDWs.
Yeah, IDW's run, and it's still going on. And I hop in and do an issue, probably once or twice a year at this point. But I started out with Doctor Who doing a miniseries. That was kind of my foot in the door at IDW, and then on to Transformers. And then, as time went on, just started getting into the crowdfunded thing and doing more of that now than anything else, honestly.
Oh, yeah. Now, drawing Transformers, I would think would have to be the hardest thing in the world to do because you're not just drawing a character, but you got to kind of engineer something because it's got to look like this thing can change into whatever vehicle it can change into, or do you take shortcuts in that? Can you find a way to get around it?
Well, there's always shortcuts. I say this a lot. Me and some of the Transformer artists have talked about this. When you get a writer that says, "Oh, the pose, they're standing like this," or the arms crossed is always the example I give, because they can't cross their arms. Like especially somebody like Ultra Magnus has got this big stack, whatever they are, on his shoulder. Is like, so you have to cheat it. There's a lot of cheating that goes on. But the hardest thing for me was learning to figure out how to draw Transformers in general, like crack that little, I guess, artistic code of, how do you draw these things? And once you do that, it's not so bad. But it took me a while to actually figure out how to draw a robot that just wasn't completely horrible. So that was like the learning curve for me. But once you get there, then you start working out the little cheats because, like I said, it's like, oh, they're trying to do human things, but they don't have human anatomy. Really.
Yeah, they don't flex. They hinge and such. Of course, the cool part is that you can just justify going out and buying a complete set of Transformers and writing it off on your taxes.
That's true. And I'm not saying I've done that, but I have.
Excellent, excellent. So what was it that, what was it about crowdfunding that you found appealing that you decided I'm going to angle myself this way for a while?
Well, I think every creator wants to do their own book. I mean, I had started out doing a small book, a webcomic called William the Last. That's still it's on hiatus at the moment, but it eventually got published by Antarctic Press, and I still have a couple issues to do with them. But you want to try to reach your own audience and do your own story, something you own, a little more creative freedom, and if it became successful, again, it's yours, so you can do different things with it. And I tried to do an indie comic back in 2004 or so, and back then, in order to do that, it was almost cost prohibitive. Like you had to, first of all, the only place you could go was through Diamond. The internet wasn't quite what it is now as far as social media, and there was no crowdfunding, and so it was that whole thing of, you got to print up, how many books do you think you're going to need, and print those up. It was really expensive. And then Diamond rejected the book, and it was like, oh, we got all these books and nowhere to do it. So that kind of killed that project. So when crowdfunding came, it's like, wait a minute, it's basically, a pre-order system for the book, going directly to the reader. And that's like in that sense, the best time to be an indie creator and do your own stuff. And I don't know why. And a lot of people seem to talk themselves, old pros especially, seem to talk themselves out of it for some reason. I've noticed that online. Like, well, is it really worth it? How much money? And I'm like, yeah, it's worth it. You should do it. Quit overanalyzing this. You start small, figure out what things cost, and then grow from there. But with social media and building up a direct connection with an audience, that for me, being on G.I. Joe and Transformers and stuff helped a lot.
Yeah, you already had a fan base.
Yeah.
To work with.
Yeah. So then, and that's one of the reasons why when my first big project, like post regular G.I. Joe work, was Gunship Thunderpunch, which was a giant robot 80s kind of feel retro thing, because that's what I enjoyed. That's the time I grew up in. But two, that was kind of, my audience was kind of in that vein. So like, well, that project makes sense. So that was like the biggest one that I was successful in 2019. It was a 80-page first book. It's a trilogy, this first story, and then the second one I launched in March, I think. Yeah. So we're in the last week of the campaign here, and so yeah, it's been crazy. And I've done a few like small projects from time to time. I'll do an art book whenever I get enough content. I'll just put out a 100-page art book, and so I have one of those I'm shipping now, and trying to keep busy, trying to be more of a indie, or really just a publisher. That's kind of the business I suddenly end up in. So yeah, it's
you're everything from publisher to editor to janitor.
Yeah, it's true. And when I neglect my janitor duties, my wife gets really upset.
Was your first crowdfunding, was it more than you thought you'd signed up for? I mean, especially when you have to get to actually, because working, on the titles you worked on for IDW, you didn't have to talk to the printer. You didn't have to work on distribution. That was all pieced out to somebody else.
Yeah. Well, what happened with me was I had a project that I worked on with a friend of mine, and we tried to crowdfund a graphic novel right out of the gate. This would have been, 10 years ago or so, about 10 years ago. And I think we wanted almost $10,000, and it flopped. And looking back, I see why. Like, there was no, like, I didn't have the audience I do now, and it was just a big project right out of the gate. So I took a step back and I said, well, for the next thing, I'm going to start small. I'm doing a single issue, floppy, 20 whatever page book of my story. And so I stepped back and I did that single issue, and it got funded. I think it was like $3,000, and I didn't make any money on it. It was just enough to get printed and shipped. But it gave me the experience of figuring out, okay, I've got a successful campaign, it got funded, and I kind of know how the system works and shipping. And so the next thing I did was a little bit bigger, the art book, so that a little bit heavier book. And so that helped for those two campaigns helped prep me for, okay, what printers, what shipping costs, and what marketing works, what marketing doesn't work, and that helped me build up to a full graphic novel. So I kind of figured out, I've gone through 2 printers. I found one, I've used one that printed out of China, and that adds like 2 months shipping time, and then now I'm printing in the States, and that cuts it down to 2. So you got all these little business things you kind of slowly stumble on as you talk to people who've done it before and just get quotes from stuff. So yeah, it's a little different than just inking your page, scanning it in, and cashing the check, and then you go on your way.
Absolutely. And I've been wanting to find my way into what you all guys do, because I've been a comics fan since I was 4. But I can't draw anything, and I can't pay an artist up front to work on any of the stories that I write. But I did get into the distribution into things here because I saw that there was a need for that. So I'm working on, I'm a fulfillment service specifically for the overseas folk.
Oh, okay.
To bring stuff into the U.S. But we have been able to have. I set it up because if I worked with the international folk, it brought their shipping down to where they sold more books because people weren't scared away by the high shipping costs.
Right, right.
But then I didn't figure anybody domestic would want to use it because it's going to cost you more to use the service.
Right.
Turns out a lot of people don't mind that if it means that they got 3 weeks that they can work on their next book instead of filling boxes. So yeah, I started doing that. So you got, I brought up the page for Gunship Thunderpunch. It's kind of hard to say until you get it out of your mouth a few times. How long has it been since the first Gunship?
The first one fulfilled in 2020. So it's been about a year. The campaign ended in 19, and then I fulfilled that, and then there's been a little gap. I did some other things. I had another art book in there, and kind of prepped for this one. So my goal with this one is to get this done. I want to get this done and out the door by September, so I can start prepping the 3rd book by the end of the year, and hopefully have that up and live this year. That's my plan anyway.
Yeah, that's always been the one. Well, not the one, I guess, but one of the bigger complaints from readers about crowdfunded books is that it's so long between books. But
right,
but there are people who are getting around that now. I mean, I just fulfilled one. They're on like their 11th issue of a series, and what they did was they had 5 issues in the can before they launched the first one. So they're coming out every 3 months now, but not everyone.
Yeah, it's trickier with if you're doing a single issue, like trying to do a monthly thing, it's more challenging rather than if you're doing like a graphic novel with a cliffhanger. I think people are a little more forgiving because you got a book, and then I gotta just wait for the next book to come out. But it's one of those things where like we talked about before. I don't have a staff. Like I don't have a graphic design department and a shipping department. I'm not, whether it's, IDW or, Marvel or whoever, like or connected with Diamonds, like it's just me and my wife, that's it. And I have to not only write and draw and make the thing, I have to turn around and ship the thing and then think about the next thing. So, that adds to the whole length of time. So it's, again, whole other set of challenges, but you really can't complain. Like I said, 20 years ago, this would have been impossible altogether.
Yeah, this is a new age. This is a renaissance age for the independent publisher.
Mm-hmm.
It's just everything's right there for you. Did you find anybody who was already crowdfunding that you were able to turn to for help on how to get things done, or did you pretty much have to? Were you at the stage where you had to just blindly muddle through and figure it out on your own?
Well, like I said, I had crowdfunded before, and when I crowdfunded William the Last, it was just kind of on my own. I knew a few people around that were crowdfunding around the same time, but we were all kind of doing it with that same graphic novel size thing at the same time. So I kind of just had to guess. I didn't. I didn't have people to give me hard numbers like, what is shipping cost? What does this cost? So I just had to kind of guesstimate. And I ended up like for international shipping, for example, like I lost like $1.50 on every,
That
every
adds up.
shipment. Well, yeah, and then I realized, and I didn't know this. This is what I figured out in the first book, because you could get 2 books, and once you add that second book, it goes up another $20. And so it was like, oof. Okay, so I had to factor those shipping costs into this campaign for international, but it's that kind of thing that really a lot of us, I think, in crowdfunding in the last year and a half have figured out. So now, if you've asked people, they'll tell you, okay, well, this is the mailer I use, this is the how to ship and stuff. But at that first book, it was kind of like there wasn't a whole lot of solid, definite information. You just had to kind of get a book this size, weigh it, try to go through the shipping thing and see what the post office charges, and just kind of guesstimate. So
yeah, and I've seen people shoot themselves in the foot too, because they start a campaign up and they're successful, and they once your campaign started, all the prices are set. So you're like, it's going to be like $10 to ship the book with a print in a Gemini mailer, and pay for your labeling and everything. But then they're like, well, let's put stretch goals on here, and the imagination starts to expand. And they're like, oh, we could do metal prints, or we could do 3D prints. And suddenly they got a 15-pound package that they're trying to ship out for $10.
Yeah.
Work.
Yeah, that's one thing that I did figure out. And I had read early, and just because of the other book, I figured that if, with my first art book, what happened was I had a reward tier that was like 11 by 17 art with the book, and I realized that I tried to package them together, and that's so awkward. And so, because you had this, they're so different sizes, and I was like, it was just a nightmare. So I figured out then, it's like all rewards have to, be the same size as the main product. So if it's a comic that fits in an 8.5 by 11 or 9 by 12 mailer, your prints need to be 9 by 12 or 8.5 by 11. Yes. Digital rewards are best. Anything else needs to be flat and not weigh a whole lot. I did do metal prints for an early bird special, and I didn't have. I think I had maybe 30 some of them. They do add a bit of weight.
Yeah. So they're fine to do, but know in advance what you might do, and plan ahead. If you know that, hey, I'm going to be adding another 5 ounces onto this for a metal print, and that's going to kick it into the next upward tier in the post office, the poundage measurements that they have for medium 8, take that one, round it up. And if you don't make it, well, you're making an extra $1 on shipping rather than spending an extra $1 on shipping. Nobody really cares if you're making a $1 on shipping. It's when you're outrageously overshipped, that's when people care. I mean, it's called shipping and handling for a reason. Exactly.
Right? I still have to put time in to wrap the thing up and package it, and you're paying for that little bit of labor as well. It's not just straight up materials. But I think people understand when I think the audience at this point is smart enough, and we're all experienced enough to know when you look at a campaign and think they're kind of gouging the shipping prices. We all kind of know that. So people don't get away with that very much, and if they do, their campaign is not going to. They're not going to have very many successful campaigns if the audience feels like they've been gouged.
They'll have their first one, and that will be it.
Yeah.
So, looking at the book here, how big is this book? The Thunderpunch, Gunship Thunderpunch 2.
It's going to be around 80 pages. The first book was 70 pages of story plus extras. This is going to be about that, maybe even a little more. We're getting ready to unlock a 5-page backup story from Alex Milne, one of my Transformer artist buddies, and there's also going to be a How to Draw Robots the Shearer Way tutorial in it now. That was our 15K stretch goal. So there's some extra stuff in there, and I'm going to put some other pages in there. I'm going to do like a little special, those old when we were growing up, the comics that had the ads in it for all this weird thing like X-ray sunglasses and stuff. I'm toying with doing some of that, just some fun stuff in there. So we're looking about at least 80 pages of a book with 70, some of that being 72, whatever, being story.
All right. Well, I do see that you have a video here. I'm sharing. I'm hearing the echo that they're talking about in the chat now. I'm sharing sound on this, so I think what I'm going to do is play the video so we can hear it, and then I'll unshare and reshare without sound, so that maybe we'll take care of this echo problem here. But let's see what the video is all about here.
Gunship Thunderpunch is back. This second graphic novel in the series picks up where the adventure began in the first 80-page book. And if you missed book 1, don't worry. You can get on board with books 1 and 2 in this Indiegogo campaign. Martians kidnapped her son, and Nova Marcos has one chance to get him back. Her only hope lies with an outdated transforming gunship, a convict, and a gun-toting hillbilly. More mutants, more Martians, more ships, more sci-fi robot adventure. During this campaign, you can get exclusive extras like prints, trading cards, and original art. Time is limited, so get in now. But hang on, there's more. This book comes with an original Synthwave Album. Immerse yourself in the adventure with an original soundtrack inspired by Gunship Thunderpunch. Get your quarters ready to go. That's an arcade reference. And press start on Gunship Thunderpunch.
I love that. I especially
Oh,
did you make that yourself?
Yeah, that was on me.
Yeah, that the what was it? The back channel stuff. The what do you call that?
Yeah, the little echo, little other guy in the back.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, people seem to like that. I kind of did it on a whim, and then I think that was everybody's favorite part. Like, oh, okay.
I started thinking it's echoing again. No, it's saying something entirely different.
Yeah, it changes as the trailer goes on.
Well, I brought it back up without sound now, so maybe we'll get rid of the echo that people were talking about. Maybe not. It's StreamYards. It does its own thing.
Yeah, it does. It does whatever it wants.
So you do have the option here to get book 1 and book 2, and that is the featured tier. $50, great deal. The Synthwave album, how did that come around, and how did you get it put together?
Well, it's. I also do music. I used to do more of it in another life, and a buddy of mine's a musician, and I just wanted. I've been meaning to do a music project, and I thought, well, why don't I just do like a synthwave thing? He's got a pretty good setup, and so we're kind of going back and forth and composing and arranging this thing, and so it kind of fits the property. It's my love letter to the '80s. So I'm doing a little retro feel soundtrack for it, and every tier gets that. So I'm basically giving it away for free. I haven't factored that into the cost, and I don't have to ship it, so that's okay.
Yeah, of course. It's it's going to be digital.
Yeah.
Is the story actually taking place in the 80s, or is it in the future?
No, it's in the future. I haven't established a specific year. It's more like the not too distant future.
Okay.
So it's familiar and a little advanced, but familiar.
I was just curious if things like Martians and gunships were known factors to the people of Earth in your story, or if they were like, oh my God, what is this giant thing that's coming down on me here?
Yeah, it's the backstory I give is that Mars. We finally found life on Mars deep underground, and Mars was not happy. And then the next page in the book is 2-page splash page of destruction of giant Martian mechs. So that's kind of sets up we finally found life, and then here we are in this ongoing kind of battle back and forth between Earth and Mars. So. That's all the backstory you really need to get a story, because this is more of a smaller scale in that backdrop. I just kind of set up that world and then zoom in on this one family's issue with her son being kidnapped, and she has to sort out this problem in the world. And then as I go through the story, you'll learn little more bits in here as the world gets a little more fleshed out for the reader.
Okay, so the gunships, are they made on Earth, or are they from somewhere else?
They are made on Earth, but there's only one that is sentient, and I haven't given away why that is yet. So I don't want to spoil anything, but Thunderpunch is the only one that transforms and thinks.
I've always had a love for the sentient machine. And when I say that, I'm not talking about like HAL from 2001,
right?
Or even the Transformer series where there's like a bunch of them. I always like it better when there's like one,
right?
Or like the Herbie the Love Bug movies,
right?
Because it was more of a more of a what the heck is going on. Everyone's surprised.
Yeah, and sometimes I kind of like part of the ongoing story is sort of because he doesn't really know where he came from or why either, and part of it is his self-discovery. That's not the main thing, but as they're going through, the characters are trying to figure out, why he is who he is, and the commander who abandoned him in the junkyard just absolutely despises him. He thinks he's a machine, he's a glitch, and so you've got these two opposing opinions. He's alive versus he's a malfunction, kind of operating in the background.
Johnny Five.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I get it. I'm trying to get a sense of scale here, because if he transforms into a ship that I'm assuming the passengers can ride in, is he bigger than what he looks on this cover here? Yeah,
there's a little foreshortening going on there. A person is about as big as maybe around. It doesn't come above his chin. There's a little chin piece there, so he's very big.
Okay, so if she was standing on the ground, she'd come up to his chin, or
no. If she was standing on the ground, she wouldn't come much above his foot.
Okay, I got you. I see now. So yeah, he's huge. Which is what I would expect. This huge, giant, transforming Ultraman flying robot kind of thing.
Yeah.
To go back to the.
You're naming all the things I love.
Yeah, well, I was just binging last week. Where's my mouse at? There we go. Just binging last week on my favorite.
Oh, okay.
That man, when I grew up on this thing, I was like 6 years old, tuning to the VHF channels.
Yeah.
Early in the morning, watch it right before.
Oh yeah, we used to. Ultraman. Ultraman was one of the earliest things that I remember watching. That and Star Blazers. That's love that stuff.
Yeah, and I understand that there's a Transformers influence here, and it's obvious, because that's where you came from. But then you got these giant monsters. Is this kaiju, or are they all mechs?
They're all mechs. So all the Martians are relatively comparable in size to humans, but their mechs are huge. They're a little more advanced as far as the mech stuff.
Let's take a look at some of the goals that you can get with this, because you've got the two books. And if you have not seen Thunder Punch 1, take the option to get them both, because why would you get book 2 without getting book 1 anyway?
Yeah.
You just start in the middle of something, and then you got to wait for book 3 to hopefully get book 1.
Yeah.
Whatever stock is left. So get it now. You've got some prints here. These are they'll fit in a Gemini mailer, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And this is the merch pack for $75. You get book 2, the prints. So what is the merch pack?
The merch pack has T-shirts, keychains, patches, magnets, stickers, all that kind of stuff that people collect.
All that heavy stuff that we just talked about.
Right. Well, that's kind of factored in the price of the thing. So
good. Trading cards. Everybody loves the trading cards.
Yeah, I'd had 2 come out with book 1 that had character bio on the back for Thunder Punch and for Nova, and this one's going to have at least 2 more, because there's 2 more main characters, maybe more, for the other two characters I didn't get to, and my buddy Elliot Fernandez has done the art for one of them, and so people that like the trading cards, that'll come with every book now.
And you've unlocked the stretch goal, which I guess on any physical perk, you're also going to get your How to Draw Robots tutorial. Is that?
Yeah, it's going to be in the book. It'll be part. Yeah, it'll be part of on the back matter for the in the story.
Okay, so. Excellent. And now this is still locked. This is the 20,000 stretch goal for the 5-page, and that is only $551 away.
Yeah. I think we'll crack that one. So
I think you will too.
That'll also be in the back of the book.
You have I'm trying to go left and right at the same time.
Yeah.
I'll probably double up on stuff. With Indiegogo doing the add-ons now, which Kickstarter's doing it as well, I expect that campaigns are going to start trimming down the front page and be like, here's the book.
Right. Yeah.
And then everything else will be add-on instead of coming through all the different tiers.
Yeah. So and all this stuff too is like you can add on different things if you add on books, and my art book right there, you can add on that as well. Both
I
of
see
those.
2 different covers, so you got a volume 1 and a volume 2.
Yeah, they're both over 100 pages of art, and they both come with sketches in the back. So that's one of the add-ons that a lot of people are apparently missing, because I finally figured out what it was, is that if you have your screen zoomed in at a certain, if you zoom it in like 110%, and you go to that checkout page, you will not see the add-ons at all, because what you'll see is your order, place order, but if you scroll down, you would see add-ons. And it's something that Indiegogo could fix just by moving that checkout button down to the bottom of all of that. But a lot of people have told me they've missed it. And I was like, why do people keep missing it?
Indiegogo's got some tweaks to their system that they could make that would make it easier for a lot of people to do other things. For instance, whenever I share a campaign, I always click on that little chain link icon, because then, if somebody clicks on it, it shows that I referred them.
Right.
It's a pride thing,
Right, sure.
But when it brings the window up, there's your link, you've got OK and cancel. Doesn't matter which one of the buttons you press, it's going to go away.
Right.
And it doesn't automatically put it in your clipboard.
Huh.
Like it does with Kickstarter. You click on Kickstarter, it's like pulls up, says copy, and you're done. So do that, Indiegogo. Quit making
a lot of little things.
Right click it.
A lot of little things they could do. They have the technology. We could do this.
They can build it. They can make it faster,
right.
better than it was before. That's a little $6 Million Man reference for all you youngsters in the chat.
You kids.
So you got an 11 by 17 color drawing. This is this does not say print. This says drawing. Yeah,
will be 11 by 17 marker piece. These are limited. There's only I think I limited it to 10.
Yep.
And those will, again, that's the one thing. The original pages and art from there on down, a few or the two that I have to ship separate. That's the easiest way to do it, because they're 11 by 17 in the book.
You have to.
But yeah, so it's a full sized drawing of for those art collectors out there.
I mean, I suppose you could put the book in the Gemini mailer and then put the Gemini mailer in the 11 by 17 flat box.
That's probably an option. I'm always worried about the post office somehow managing to bend it around that. The way I did it before was having to pad out the ends with stuff. It's just, I'm like, I'll just ship them separate.
Brian, people are sending out metal prints, and the post office is going to find a way to curl them to stick in mailboxes.
That's true. I know. I've had art skewered through with people will show me. I had some Joe pages a collector bought. And he's like, hey, these came and looked like somebody stabbed them, and he showed me a picture. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, they get run through machines to scan them, and those machines have these metal fingers that come out of a conveyor belt to shunt them down different ways, and sometimes they catch.
Yeah.
I've worked in enough manufacturing environments. I've seen them work. It can be horrible if you're putting. It's fine if you're sending a box of makeup, shunting it down to the side, but when you have artwork inside it, it's not replaceable.
Yeah. Can you put this in the artwork machine, the artwork sorter?
Hand sort, please. Is that still an option? I'll pay an extra $1.
Yeah, no kidding.
You get a production page here. So you, the 11 by 17 production pages, are you working on Blueboard by hand, or do you do digital?
I am doing digital for all but about 20 pages. So anybody that would like to get an original page, they're very limited. So just to get the book in a timely manner, I have to do it digital.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. A lot of people are doing digital. And then just like you're saying here, you do a couple of the pages in hand form so that you have something to resell.
Yeah.
You're still got to scan it in, so you'll have your digital copy to work with. 75K is a nice stretch goal, but
that was the pie in the sky.
Yeah, that with an animated music video, that would have been fun to see.
I may do it anyway, just because I'm a glutton for punishment. But who knows?
You know what would look really cool, and this is where I go spending other people's money, Brian.
It's the best way.
As a stretch goal for maybe like a third issue, since it is a Transformer-esque kind of thing, a 3D print of the gunship, where you can just like stand the thing.
Yeah, I am looking into that. I'm talking to people where, I think it's possible to pull off, maybe for its own campaign, a toy or statue. People want a transforming toy, and I have looked into that.
That's tricky.
That's like, unless I have $1 million campaign, that's not happening.
I know a guy who does the 3D prints, and he's very engineering inclined, because the stuff he puts together is like, he doesn't just print it; it's like interlocking pieces and embedded magnets, and the things move.
Wow.
So I could put you in touch with him. He does a lot of stuff for crowdfunders. He doesn't get cost. I'll DM it to you after the show.
Yeah, please do. That'd be great.
So what are we seeing in this? She went after the Martians in the first book, I'm assuming, right? Or
they headed out into space, and they ended up not where they meant to go, which was part of the cliffhanger. And so anybody that every good story, things have to go really wrong to be interesting. So end of book 1, things went wrong, and book 2 is act 2. So more rocks and bricks get thrown at our main characters, and as they try to get back on track. So they're in space, but they're far from finishing their mission.
I mean, how do you get lost between Earth and Mars, Brian? There's not that many places in between.
Well, they don't. Well, I'm not spoiling it. If you haven't read it, I'm not going to spoil it. I can just say that when somebody bad at math tries to calculate a hyper jump, things go wrong.
I thought it was something like one of the. We review DVDs, Brian, and I've got like stacks of them here that I've got to go through and watch and write up for the website, criticalblast.com, where pop culture gets blasted. And I just finished reviewing recently Josie and the Pussycats in Outer Space.
Oh, wow, that was a thing?
That was a thing. That was a cartoon in the 70s.
Okay, I remember the cartoon. I don't remember the in outer space one though.
Yeah, that was the next year. They were in outer space. They took publicity pictures next to a rocket. Alexandra did her thing. They all fell inside, hit the launch, off they go.
Okay.
And it was forever trying to find their way home. And we're like, they were passing Venus, and then they'd be lost again. I'm like, you've been to 10 different planets, and there's only 9 in the solar system, and you didn't land on a single one that we know about.
Well, even Gilligan only went to the moon or wherever. Where'd he go? You remember that cartoon when the Gilligan's Island went to another planet?
It was Gilligan's Planet. It was a whole series.
Gilligan's Planet, right? Yeah, Gilligan's Planet.
So, and it was very much like Josie, because they got their own little alien mascot. Gilligan actually went twice because he did it in live action as well. Bob Denver and Chuck McCann was in something called
Space Nuts.
The Far Out Space Nuts. And I keep that handy for whenever we have somebody on who's going to launch their campaign rather than end it. Because we're on launch day.
Breakfast. Lunch. I said lunch, not lunch!
Oh, I remember that. Good times.
Man. Yes. Kids don't know what they missed out on.
No.
Get up early on a Saturday morning, which none of them will want to do right now. Be the only one awake, make a cake mixing bowl of cereal with a gallon of milk in it, and just sit down in the living room and shovel it in while you're watching.
Because if you missed it, it was gone. You had to wait another week.
Gone. You might never see it again. Reruns were,
hit or miss. Yeah, you could. There's no on demand.
Oh, and certainly not whole channels devoted to it. You had to
not at all.
Around. Remember when VCRs became a thing? It's like, I can save it for later.
Yeah, gotta pop that tab out so nobody can record over it.
and then cheating with the videos that you didn't want anymore by saying, "Oh, this movie sucked that we bought, but we can put tape over it and reuse it."
I'm a genius.
So I'm seeing the Randy Green cover art here is also for sale. The original art I did not see an alternate cover for this. So is this the art for number 1?
So that was a Kickstarter exclusive cover for book 1. And so I have extra copies of that left over. And Robert Atkins is getting me some art for his alternate cover here pretty soon. He's been pretty busy, but he's one of my studio buddies, and he's worked on a lot of G.I. Joe. So he does good work too.
Yeah, I really love the art in this one, and I could tell from the pages of your art book that you have various styles you work in. You have a more cartoonish looking style, some of it's sort of like a Mad Magazine caricature style, but then you've got this, which is definitely more along the not hyper realistic but realism style.
Right, yeah, and it goes, along the cartoony to. Yeah, I try to fit the style that will tell the story well. And I still think I tend to lean more towards the cartoony, fun style rather than hyper realistic. But this book is a little more, yeah, like the pages there. So a little more on the realistic, more traditional American comic book style than the super cartoony stuff that I kind of default to when I'm just trying to relax.
Yeah, once you get monsters, then all rules are out the window.
Right?
You can do what you want.
That's what's fun.
So, is there any other medium that we might be seeing Thunderpunch in? I mean, this is it's one of the things that happens to a lot of independent comics now. They get shopped out to places like Netflix.
Yeah, it's always a possibility. I mean, I have people that shop things around for me, but this one I'll probably wait until the next two books get done before the story at least gets complete. But you never know. That's places are buying things up, and you never can tell.
Sometimes you can sell the rights to it, and you'll never see it, but that's okay. The money still spends.
You know what? I will cash that money as well. It's all right.
Just promise me you won't do it to Sci-Fi. Take it to someplace like Netflix that might actually make it. We got some interior shots here. Now that's
from book one. Yeah,
this is book one. Okay, this is the Martians retaliating on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Very crustacean-like mechs that they've got here.
Yeah, they're tend to be more combination between a crab and an octopus is kind of the fusion that I went with.
Do we see what the actual Martians look like? I mean, were they the monsters we were looking at up here?
You haven't seen yet. You will, but and they're not in book one.
Okay.
You see their mechs and stuff.
And I'm guessing they're not in book two since they overshot and went somewhere else.
Right. There'll be more. There'll be more stuff as the mystery kind of unfolds about what's going on. And that's when they find him out of there's a good kind of scale.
Yeah, I mean, how he's right there up against their paths. And I like, he was built, but sometimes you have to, in comics, allow for the impossible kind of thing to happen here. In this case, expression on a metal face.
Right. You have to have some life to it so it's relatable as a character. Especially in comics. So, that's the one thing I didn't give him was teeth. Like he's just got that metal white screen because I always thought it was weird that Transformers have teeth.
What are you chewing?
So I'm like, no, he's just gonna have a kind of a screen there, a metal something.
Yeah, I mean, even Iron Man in the old costume used to, he's wearing a face mask, and yet he was still able to
have expressions.
He was surprised. You could tell he was happy.
Yeah.
And Spider-Man had no face, and you could still.
Yeah, with his eyes would change. Well, which they kind of addressed with tech later on, but in the comic, his eyes would get bigger or smaller or have some expression.
Sometimes he had pupils.
That's right. Yeah.
Well, is this a limited story? I mean, do you have an ending for this arc? I mean, obviously she's going to get her son back. That's the goal at some point.
Yeah, this is kind of the introduction. So for this story arc is just getting to know the world, getting to know the character, going on this adventure to get her son back. And I have some other ideas for after this. So people seem to like this book. So I want to, as long as people enjoy it, I'll keep making it. But what I'll do is, I'll have this 3-book arc, get that done. And then I'll do a collected edition. So I'd love to do a hardcover of all 3 for a campaign before moving on to the next one. So that's kind of the tentative business plan anyway.
We have a question in the chat for you. It says, is KAM here yet?
Oh, Cam. I have not seen Cam, Velnet.
I did not know if that was like another book and they were waiting.
Oh, that's someone who frequents my chat in Discord.
Okay. I think I might follow him on Twitter. I know a Cam there. BAP2 is in the chat. Loved the first book. Backed this as soon as I got the email that it was bankable. Backable, I'm sure he means. But bank on it too. You can do that. And Eric Hawkins says, "Back Thunder Punch. I loved it. Can't wait to get issue 2 in my dirty little hands." Eric, wash your hands before you handle a comic because it keeps it in mint condition that way.
That's right.
You don't want to get dirt on your comic. Active chat out here. So, is there anything? I feel like I'm missing a question here that I should be asking about. I know there's a convict and a hillbilly, and we haven't talked about that at all. So, I'm not sure how. I don't know how the 3 people came together on the show.
So, Nova was a doctor who was responsible at this security facility that was holding the former commander of Thunder Punch, who was serving a life sentence for jettisoning his crew and desertion, and he hid for hiding the ship. So the government doesn't know where the ship is. It hasn't known for 30 years. She knows that he knows, and when her son gets kidnapped, the authorities say there's nothing that she can do. So her, desperate mother plan is to make a deal with him if he will take her to the ship. So on the way, of course, they need weapons. So one of his underworld contacts was this hillbilly who just collects guns, and they get the ship and they discover that it's alive, and they go and pick up the hillbilly, and then of course the authorities are right on them, and then they have to get away quick. Bad things happen, and you're on your way.
And of course, the captain already knew that the ship was sentient.
Yeah.
And that, I'm sure that plays into one of the reasons why he hid it from the government. But 30 years hidden, that gives it a very kind of an Iron Giant feel to me. I can imagine that she discovers, I've got a giant ship, it transforms, and it's alive.
Yeah. So, he's kind of rusted, been in better shape. And he's not happy that he's been left. Him and the commander have a little, there's some issues there. So we got a little group dynamic going on between the mother and the animosity between the commander and the ship while trying to do this mission.
Yeah, and of course, the commander, he needs to go back to jail when this is all done because he did kill a bunch of people. We don't want to forgive that.
Well, we're going to address all that. That's all going to be resolved here.
Good. I hate when they do that on the CW shows. It's like, well, yes, this character was a villain and stole a bunch of stuff and killed some people, but they want to do good now, so we're going to keep him out of jail.
Right.
I mean, that was Green Arrow.
Yeah.
Shooting people the first season.
That's right.
Have you? I don't want to ask this because okay. Go ahead and say you can't answer it, but we're going to find out that Thunder Punch maybe isn't alone in why he's sentient? Might there be another one somewhere?
I'm not going to say.
See, I knew because you can't tell either way.
Yeah. No matter how I answer that, it was ruined one way or another. So
exactly. Okay, so third book is going to wrap up this, and then hopefully we'll see more Thunder Punch.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything about this series or these characters that you want the people to know about, but the right opportunity hasn't come, the right question hasn't been asked?
I don't. Nothing that's not going to be revealed in the due course of the story. So I want people just to kind of latch on mid-action on here because the story gets moving pretty quick, and just get along for the ride and get to know the characters slowly. Like, I want the reader to feel like they're kind of with them, right? And they're kind of learning as they go.
Yeah, and that's the best way. The whole show don't tell kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm not big on exposition. That I keep it to a bare minimum if I can. I had a whole little backstory for what happened between Mars and Earth, but when I went to go tell a story like that's the stuff that I find boring in stories. So I stripped it down to, we found life, Mars wasn't happy, kaboom, there we're in the story, because that's all you need to know, right?
Exactly. I mean, that you can boil that down to the top of the first page text box. And lo,
Yep.
there came a day when the world's mightiest heroes had to band together. Done.
Right. Yeah.
It was-
Yeah. It's like readers are smart. We know we don't have to spell everything out for them. They can pick up on cues and stuff. We know how to read a story.
Absolutely. And, we can fill in the backstory. And plus, it's kind of fun to go digging for the backstory
Mhm.
if it exists somewhere else. So, it's the thrill of the hunt.
Yeah. Yeah. And the 5-page backup story is going to give a little more hints into some Thunder Punch history as well. So that's all I'll say about that.
All right. Well, folks, there are 6 days left on this campaign. I'm going to assume that you're going to go into in demand on this for a little while
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah. Well, until it gets ready to go to print, it'll stay in demand.
And how close is it to going into print? I mean, how many pages would you say are printed right now?
I'm probably 2 months away from finishing up the book.
Okay.
It's on my schedule for really finishing it by July, and then getting it all assembled. And fortunately, my new printer, the turnaround time's 2 weeks.
Oh,
so
yeah.
So it's like that gives you a little more breathing room as opposed to 6 to 8.
Yeah, so that gives you August to assemble everything, and September the
Out
shipping
the door.
date, just as promised. I mean, that first campaign is, it's kind of nebulous to say when I'm going to ship because you find out all the hurdles. But at this point now, you pretty much got this figured out to what you're going to need and when it's going to happen.
Yeah. It's pretty. Again, it's almost identical to the last one. The only thing that could be an issue out of my control would be the post office. Something happened there, or things that they changed something and that I have to work out. But it's all the same materials. It's all the same suppliers. So yay business.
Yes. Let's hear it for repeatable processes. Thank you,
Yeah.
Ford. All right, so folks in the chat, if you have not yet checked out Gunship Thunderpunch Book 2, the link to this Indiegogo is in the description right below. If you're watching on the replay, I encourage you to ship on this and get there. Click on it. Ship on this. Click on it and take a look at this. It looks like a real fun project, especially if you're a fan of the old G.I. Joe and Transformer series, which so many of us are. I hear more about it every day when I'm on Twitter and in YouTube. It's in our DNA of this generation. Would love to see this cross the 20,000 line. Let's make this an even number. 19 is just
Yeah.
It just
my
looks
OCD is getting rattled here.
Yeah. So I'm gonna reload it and just see. Did anything happen tonight? No, nothing happened. I did nothing for you, Brian.
No, that's not true.
But somebody will catch you on the replay, and somebody's going to jump in here and get it. So, Brian, I just want to thank you for coming on the show and telling us about the book. I'm going to put it on my list of things to make sure I get it before it's too late here. If my crypto doesn't bankrupt me before then.
Yeah, get it before Elon Musk says something else and everything tanks.
It's amazing that the man is like the Fed chairman of crypto. He says something and it happens. I open my mouth and it comes to pass.
Yeah.
Lord have mercy. All right. Folks in the chat, thank you so much for showing up. We are so happy to have you here. We don't have a show without you. And as always, we just hope that you had a blast.